This is the story of Eleanor of Aquitaine, the timeless tale of a legendary woman who ruled as consort of both France and England. Eleanor was born in 1122 in what is now southern France. She grew up in the Duchy of Aquitaine. The Duchy of Aquitaine was the richest province in France during that time period. It's almost 1/3 of modern-day France. The land of the Duchy of Aquitaine was twice the size of the French royal domain. Eleanor was educated by scholars, tutors, and her father, William X, Duke of Aquitaine. At a young age, Eleanor was given the tools to make her own decisions and have her own opinion. In 1137, Eleanor's father died, making Eleanor his heiress. And just like that, she was the richest heiress in all Western Europe at just 15 years old. With no guardians to watch over her, she was put under the care of King Louis VI. She was soon married to his son, Louis VII. It's rumored that she was betrothed to Louis VII within hours of arriving at the French castle, even though she actually didn't marry him till months later. Later that same year, Louis VII and Eleanor were crowned King and Queen of France. Eleanor was married to King Louis VII for 15 years. Eleanor described her marriage to him as being married to a monk. During their 15 years together, Eleanor and King Louis had 2 daughters, Marie and Alex, but they had no sons, which left King Louis with no heir to the throne. Queen Eleanor and King Louis's marriage was already strained, but going on the Second Crusade was a breaking point for them. During the crusade, it was rumored that Eleanor was flirting with her uncle, Prince Raymond of Antioch. After the Second Crusade, Eleanor wrote to the Pope declaring an annulment. After the Pope approved it, Eleanor packed her things and left the French castle. In this time period, it was dangerous for a woman as wealthy as Eleanor was to be left alone without a husband or having protection. But Eleanor was smart and chose her next husband before she even left King Louis. Later that year, May of 1152, Eleanor marries Henry of Anjou, Prince of England. 2 years after being married, in 1154, Eleanor and Henry were crowned King and Queen of England. The year after that, 1155, Eleanor gave birth to her and Harry's first son, Henry the Young King. Years to follow, Eleanor births 4 more sons and 3 daughters. While living in the French castle, Eleanor added her own personal touches to it. She added colored cloths on the walls to brighten up the castle. She had her maids and servants dressing more professional. If you were going to be around her, you had to dress the part. She came up with the concept that you should be washing your hands before serving her and when you're preparing her food. She also had the mats that were around the castle that the animals would walk around and poop on changed multiple times daily. Eleanor was held under some type of house arrest by King Henry because she acted improperly. She acted on her own wills and defied his commands, and it was embarrassing for him to be in public and have her sharing her own thoughts and ideas. Even though Eleanor was held under house arrest, she had her own business importing French wine, and she owned a dock where the wine was unloaded in her land, in Aquitaine. In 1170, Eleanor separates from King Henry. They don't divorce. Eleanor just leaves England and goes to Aquitaine. There's not a set-in-stone reason why Eleanor left England and King Henry to go to Aquitaine for this time period, but there's a suspicion that it was because King Henry had mistresses and Eleanor didn't enjoy the fact that her husband, the king, was sleeping around with other women when he was supposed to be a married man. Behavior like this was normal during this time period. It just bothered Eleanor. In Aquitaine, Eleanor held the Court of Love. Courtly love was a code of conduct Eleanor and her ladies came up with for men, explaining how to behave like civilized young knights who treat women with gentleness and respect. Eleanor and her ladies came up with 31 different laws of courtly love. 3 courtly laws that are still relevant today are: when made public, love rarely endures; real jealousy always increases the feeling of love; the easy attainment of love makes it of little value; difficulty of attainment makes it prized. Eleanor had discovered that King Henry had mortgaged Aquitaine to fund his wars, and Eleanor was furious. Aquitaine was Eleanor's land, and Henry hadn't even consulted with Eleanor before he started taking her land's money. When Eleanor's sons revolted against the king, she supported them. The Great Revolt lasted about 18 months, ending in the sons' defeat. They were forgiven by their father, King Henry, but Eleanor wasn't. Instead, she was captured, arrested, and taken back to England. Eleanor was imprisoned in Old Sarum in Wiltshire. She was kept in different various locations, but this one was the most common. She wasn't kept in a dungeon or behind bars or anything. She was let out on special times like Christmas and other various holidays. Eleanor was kept prisoner until the remainder of King Henry's life. It's said that as soon as King Henry died, Richard I sent word to have his mother freed. Eleanor took over ruling England as regent as Richard went on crusades. Eleanor was the power behind her son's throne as she helped rule England to the best of her ability. In 1189, Eleanor ended her rule as queen. In 1204, Eleanor died at the age of 82. Most women during her time period died at the age of 40, so Eleanor, living to be 82, was just another way Eleanor shocked the world. She outlived both of her husbands and 8 out of her 10 children. Eleanor had 51 grandchildren, and her descendants would rule Europe for centuries.